In today's video, we're going to be installing a bathroom fan. The bathroom we are installing it in was made in 1968 and is original. There is no bathroom fan in here, and as you could guess, there are humidity issues, so installing this is going to mitigate that. To do this project, you're obviously going to need a bathroom exhaust fan. Bigger, in my opinion, is always better. Right on them, they'll say the square footage that it's rated for, but in my opinion, again, bigger is better. You want to evacuate as much of that moist, humid air as fast as possible. And the SAWN rating is just a ratio of how loud the fan is, but in my opinion, I don't really care how loud the fan is. They're all not that quiet, and if you're taking a shower, who really cares? Really, you just want to make sure you suck out that moisture. Next, you're going to want some sort of exhaust vent cover. This example, we're going to be installing it in the soffit, but if the building you're installing it doesn't have a soffit, they have flaps that go on the side of the building. Super simple. Hose clamps. You're going to need some heavy-duty duct. I don't like the really flexible stuff, so this is semi-rigid. The really flexible stuff will sag over time, and water can actually go inside the divots. Next, you're going to need some basic hand tools, screwdriver, some sort of wire stripper. You're going to need a non-contact voltage tester. You're going to need some sort of meter. You're going to probably want some sort of diagonal cutters. You're going to want a fish tape. These are going to be so that you can actually push the wire through the wall. You're going to want a stud finder, probably some sort of hole saw and handsaw. And for the electric side, you're going to need a single pole switch. I have two. You're going to need some sort of faceplate and a box to go in. This is an old work box. You're going to want some wire nuts. Go with the Wagos. They're the easiest that you can ever get. And some electrical tape. And then also you're going to want some Romex. Now I have a 15 amp breaker, so I need 14 gauge Romex. But if you have a 20 amp breaker, you're going to need 12 gauge. Now before actually doing any work on the electric side, you have to identify the circuit breaker you're going to be using. And in this case, we're going to tie into the existing circuit that controls the lights here. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to go in the garage, identify the circuit breaker, turn it off, and come back in. We're at the panel, and in this case for me, it is actually labeled as South Bedroom Outlets. So it took me a while to find it, but it's off now. Now the plan is to basically take off the faceplate, and we're going to put in a larger box, and then we're going to run wire from a new switch up to where our fan is going to go. So we have turned off the breaker at this point. So I'm just going to remove this faceplate. There we go. There's the old switch. And of course, we're going to practice our good safety techniques, and I'm going to link to this video in my safety video, but we're going to do the gist of it right now. Turn on your non-contact voltage tester, rub it on your shirt, you heard it beep. It's just picking up static. We're trying to touch everything in there. Okay, this guy isn't beeping. We know that it should be dead. Rub it again on your shirt. And we just do that to make sure that it didn't die and it still works. And now we're going to pull our device out. Now, I'm just grabbing the yoke. That's these metal tabs, because I don't know if there's other wires inside this box that could still be live. Now the previous person who worked on this, you can see they wrapped it in electrical tape. So, still just grabbing the yoke. I will take off the electrical tape. You can see the exposed conductors there. So before I touch it, anything in that box, I'm just going to take my tester or your multimeter. Remove the leads. And we're going to put it into AC voltage. Mine does both, but if you have a multimeter, it's going to be with the squiggly line above it. Touch a hot to the side, which should be grounded. 0 volts, hot on the bottom, side grounded, 0 volts. All right. Now let's pull out our neutral, which you can see is under a wire nut. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick my leads in there and go to hot. Nothing, nothing, and then neutral to ground, nothing. All right, we know everything's dead in here, so we can now at this point safely work. What I'm going to go ahead and do at this point, now that we know everything is off, is we can see that this existing box, the edges have kind of been painted over. So you're going to want to get yourself like a razor knife of some sort, and you're just going to want to kind of chip away at that paint, because that's basically going to act as a glue that's keeping this whole box in there together. Obviously, be careful. It's sharp, but we got to basically cut through the glue that's holding this in the wall. It's a good idea before starting that you remove everything out of the room that could get dirty. You know, customers' towels, toothbrushes, that kind of thing, because they're for sure going to get covered in drywall. Now that we have all the wires pulled out and we have cut out the box, I like to identify what is my incoming hot and what is my switch leg going to my light. Because when we add in our new switch, what we're going to do is we're going to tap into the incoming power. So if you don't know which one is the hot, because sometimes there are different models. There are light switches that have them on the side, off brands, you know, it can be different. So at this point, you have to be very cautious. You can go back out, turn the breaker on, make sure that these hots are not touching anything, make sure no one can touch these exposed conductors. So at this point, the circuit is re-energized. So I like to take my tester or your multimeter, it's in voltage, AC voltage, and I like to touch one of the leads. Now, I've been doing this long enough, I know that it's this top one, but sometimes you don't know. So this is for you out there if you don't know, if you're not sure. So if I touch one lead to one of the hots and I go to ground, you can see that the switch is in the off position. So I touch one lead to the hot and the other lead to the ground. You can see it lights up. I have 115 volts, 116 volts. And if I go to the bottom one, there should be no voltage. That's my switch leg. You can see there's 0 volts. Top one, that's my incoming power because the lights are off. So you can go back and turn the circuit breaker off, make sure that this circuit is dead. Now that we've identified which is the incoming power and we have killed the power again by turning that breaker off, I like to get a little piece of black electrical tape and I like to label. So I know that when I disconnect this wire, I can see that it's got this little flag on it. I know that this is the one that I am going to tap off of. Now at this point, we know everything's dead. We've confirmed it's dead. You can remove the wire nuts. You can disconnect from the device. There we go. I'm just going to straighten these wires out because it's going to make, oh, well, that snapped off. It's fine, we can restrip it. It's going to make pulling these wires out of the existing box a lot easier. All right. And last, but certainly not least, we're going to go ahead and disconnect the ground. Now, this is an older style metal box, so sometimes it's a little trickier to get in the grounds. They're twisted up and connected in the back. So I just simply untwist them. At this time, you can remove the existing box. Now, there are tons of different types of boxes out there, so proceed with caution. Some are nailed into the side, some of them are old work, some of them are metal, some of them are fiberglass, some are plastic. So it's going to be different in everybody's situation. So in my situation, I'm just going to do my best to kind of pull this out. So in order to make pulling out this existing metal box, which I believe is nailed in on this side, in order to make that easier, what I'm going to do is this is a double duplex box, so I'm going to basically cut, so there's going to be a hole here, right? But that's for a single gang box. I'm going to mark and cut the size hole I'll need for this box, so that way I'll have some more prying room to pull this old box that's there out. So I'm just holding this new old work box, just holding it over. We're gonna trace it. All right, so I'm just going to get a blade and we are going to cut through that and make a hole. All I'm using for this, because I actually forgot my drywall cutting tool, I do have Sawzall blades, so I just wrapped it with some electrical tape. And you just simply, just cuts right through it. At this point, I've actually expanded the hole because I'm trying to get the correct size for the new box that's going to go in. And you just have to loosen the screws in the back. And I'm going to pry this out. It is nailed in, so I'm trying to do my best to not break any more of this new drywall. And then we'll just be able to pop in the new box and go from there. All right. After lots of struggle, we finally got the nails removed from the existing metal box. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to push out the old wires and pull out this box. Voila. Old box removed. Now what we're going to do is we're going to vacuum up everything, get rid of all this dust. This next part is probably one of the most crucial parts. It's locating where on the ceiling you actually want the bathroom fan to go. And you're going to need to unbox your bathroom fan, get the dimensions, and you can mark where you're going to cut the hole in the ceiling. In order to cut this hole, you have to know where the studs are. So simply take your stud finder, move it along until you find a stud, until you find another stud, and once you're in an empty void, you know that's an area you can cut. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this hole and get back when it's done. Project update for you. So projects typically don't always go as planned, but through the power of editing, it makes it look really easy. So I cut a hole, and you can see that's not square, right? So if you look at the right-hand side, over here, right, you can see that looks like clearly like a new stud. It's because if you look, the angle of the roof was going to hit the thickness of my fan. So my fan is actually 8.5 inches thick. So take that into consideration. I thought, yes, I had clearance over here because the edge of the stud is right here. But it turns out I have to have vertical clearance as well. So I've just put a little block here. I'll repair the drywall after, and I've extended the hole this way. So this is what it looks like in the hole. The second issue we have run into is So you look at the pitch of the roof, and you look up in here, I don't see any soffits. Even though, if I look from the outside of the house, there is a soffit. So, that means it's a fake soffit. So there goes that foils our plan to use this guy, the spring-loaded soffit vent. So I'm gonna do a quick run to the store, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna get a longer piece of this flex pipe, this semi-rigid flex pipe. This is an 8-foot section. What we're gonna do is we're gonna get a 25-foot section. So instead of just piping out that way down to the soffit, which I was hoping that was gonna be the easiest method, obviously we can't do that anymore. We're going to vent this way towards us, then go that way out the side of the house. So this project's gonna be a little bit harder now, but not impossible. So I'll get back to you when we got new parts. As you can see, I've gone ahead and changed into a long sleeve shirt because we're at a point now where we can go and start pulling our wire. So what I'm going to do is I am going to take this 14-2 here, and it's gonna go up in the wall, up, over, and get pulled out of that hole. And what I'm gonna use in order to help me with that job is a fish tape right there. And I'm going to go up in the attic crawl space. That's why I have the long sleeve, to help prevent me from getting fiberglass, dust all over my body. And I'm just gonna fish it down. That's the name, fish tape. I'm gonna fish down, poke through this hole, and then what I'll do is I will take the wire, tape it on the end, and pull it up. So I'll get to the point where I actually have pushed the fish tape down through. As you can see, I was successful at pushing the fish tape down through the ceiling. So all I have to do now is I have to get my 14-2. I'll put it in a coil here just below, because I'm going to be in the attic space. I am working alone. So this hook right here is going to definitely get snagged. So when I tie this together, let's break this off. Get this hook going. All right, starting from scratch. We want to make this as smooth a transition as possible, or else it's going to get stuck in the small hole up in the attic because it's gone through the sill plate at the top. It's just a small 1/2-inch hole there that was pre-existing for these wires. So I'm simply just gonna wrap this guy up with tape. Got a decent amount of surface area. All right, so I'll see you when that is pulled through. As you can see, I've just finished pulling through my cable. It just goes up, over, and down right there. So at this point, I'm gonna set the camera up and show how I'm gonna wire in this old work box. See, is it now wide enough? Perfect. Our new hole is now wide enough. So I'm just going to, I want to pop it in this way. We have 3 holes here on the top. So we'll just go ahead and we'll punch those out. Use a screwdriver. Just kind of use your screwdriver, punch them in, they flex in. Do that with all 3. Okay. Now, I'm going to cut my cable. I don't need nearly this much. So, I'm gonna give myself some good working length. That's plenty. Now, just simply strip it. You can use a razor knife, but you have to be cautious. Don't cut too deep. You're just trying to score the sheathing of the Romex. do a couple passes. If you cut too deep, you can actually end up nicking your wire, and obviously that's no bueno. Just remove your paper, and now we can get ready for the box. Beautiful. So now that we have put the box in, you just have to simply flip up the tabs, tighten them down, and what they do is they actually clamp on the drywall from behind, making sure it doesn't go anywhere. Good. This box isn't moving. And before I get too far ahead of myself, get yourself some drywall compound. This stuff was like, I don't know, $10. Comes in a big tub. It'll be plenty good for the wall damage we've done today. Just open it up. It comes like with a little spatula. Get some on your little knife. Now that we've gone ahead and we have put on the drywall repair compound, all we have to do is get ready to do our jumper method. So cut yourself a couple of 6 to 8 inch lengths of the Romex you've been using. And we're gonna start with our grounds here. Remember, we always work on confirmed dead circuits. So here is one of the grounds. Here is another one of the grounds. So we'll get our last ground in there, but I'm gonna get ready. Mind you, this drywall compound's still wet. You can see it got on my fingers. That's all right. It's at this point that I like to join our neutrals together because, again, we don't ever switch our neutrals. We're only switching hot legs. Okay. So we're gonna put all our neutrals together. There we go. We can go ahead and we can tuck that in the back of the box. Get as much space as possible. If you recall, we flagged our incoming power, so that way we know it comes in, we know it goes out, and we just pulled this new one which goes to our fan. So we're gonna have to create jumpers. So it gets 2 6-inch or so pieces of 14 gauge black. Strip them, both ends. They're gonna go like this. So you're gonna do another one of those. Incoming power. Boom, just like that. Now, get your switches. I'll start with one. And we're gonna do a loop. So we have, when it's in the in the on-off position right there, you'll know if it's upside down or not because your words will be inverted, they'll be backwards. So incoming power goes on the bottom. All you have to do is create a little hook. And you're going to hook it onto your device so that when you tighten it righty-tighty, the hook itself bites and grabs. Right? So you hook it to the right around the screw. If I were to hook it to the other way around the screw like this, when I do righty-tighty, the screw will open the wire up and you'll have a loose connection. So hook it to the bottom screw, to the right. Cool. Get your next switch and you're going to do the same thing. Hook it around the screw to the right so that when you tighten it clockwise, it tightens around the screw and doesn't open up. Nice snug connection. Perfect. Gotta strip both the outgoing switch legs. This one's going to the fan. Just hooks on just like that. Tighten her down. Same thing with the top. I got to strip away a little bit more here so I have adequate hook coverage. The ideal amount of wire you want exposed is probably about 3/4 of an inch. You don't need to do too much more because if you have too much conductor exposed, what will happen is this part of the wire, would be exposed and it could touch the box, could touch the ground, could touch the neutral. So only need a little bit exposed to strip so that it can actually wrap around your screw. Okay. Now we got to do the same thing with our grounds. Ground simply make a loop. And I'll do the same thing down here to save some time. Up. Okay. At this point, let's go over electrically what's happening. So we have the incoming power marked by this little flag. It branches off and becomes the bottom feed for our switches. And then we have the outgoing switch legs going to the proportionate device. So this one is going to the existing light in this bathroom, and this one is going on the new cable we just pulled, which is going to then power the fan. So one last step electrically that we have to do is we have to tape off the sides of the device. Don't skimp out on this part. It'll save you heartache down the line, help make a better electrical connection by mitigating water and moisture and possible screwdrivers or finger slips. So it'll save you down the line. Also, make sure you get Super 88 electrical tape. I'll link it, of course, in the description as always, but don't go with the cheapo brand. I mean, electrical tape is pretty affordable and it's worth it having the higher quality stuff. The cheaper stuff kind of cracks over time. And yeah, I'm just not a big fan of it, so. There we go. So these guys, all you have to do is you just got to shove them in the box. So you've done all the hard work. Now you just have to make everything fit. It'll fit. It just takes a little bit of, let's say, persuasion. As you can see, I've gone ahead and put the two switches in the wall. Now, pro tip here, if you are using a plastic box like I am in this case, it is a hell of a lot easier if you use drywall screws instead of those 632 screws. Way, way easier. Now, we are going to put this in the ceiling, but first we have to attach this electrically. Now, you could do this up in the attic, but it's like so hot up there right now. It's like a 90-degree day and it's uncomfortable. So you see this hole? Yeah, you're gonna have to find a way to protect this. So that's where this guy comes in. It's just a box connector for Romex. This basically what it does is it makes sure that the cable doesn't rub against here and short. So we just have to strip that, connect it, shove it in there, and we can put it in the ceiling. As you can see, we have the Romex dangling out of the ceiling there. So again, I'm just going to take my utility blade, just like we did before. I'm going to score about 6 inches. Careful of your fingers, obviously. Don't push too hard into the Romex. You don't want to accidentally nick your cable, or nick your wires underneath in the cable, I should say. It's easier with a sharp knife, obviously. All right, so now I'm just gonna cut away the vinyl sheathing. You can see that my fan actually came with these, they're kind of like Wagos. Wago used to make this product that was a push-in style connector, and honestly, they're terrible. So I'm going to steer clear of those, and I'm just going to add my own connectors. I'm just simply going to cut theirs. See these push-on connectors? These, I think, are terrible. I mean, I've been in many situations where those have been installed wrong, but it's way easier with these lever actions. So I'm just going back through, using a Wago instead. Don't drop it. Wago, by the way, is perfect for this situation because the fan itself is wired using stranded. It's much cheaper for a manufacturer to use stranded, but we ran Romex. So it's perfect for this because it's good for both. Man, we got quite a mess here, but nothing my shop vac can't handle. Now it's worth noting, I don't have one for this project yet, but I will be posting a video in the future. It's really important to get these guys on a GFCI circuit, which actually anything new, following the new code, you're gonna basically every 15 and 20 amp circuit needs to be AFCI and GFCI protected. So I'll probably get a dual breaker and we'll have a video coming soon, but you really, especially in a bathroom, it's a great idea to have this fan on a GFCI specifically circuit because, you know, you're near water and the fan's going to be sucking up humidity, Water may form in it. Gotta kind of do it one at a time. This guy just screws off. Goes back in the hole like that. Screws back on. And all you do is tighten it down on your Romex. That's not going anywhere. So, very simply, just strip the ends. Beautiful. Now, connect your wires. Green is ground. It even says grounding. Black is our hot switched. And of course, white is our neutral. Nice. Now I just have to put this back in the box and get it up there in the ceiling, which that of course, that's gonna be the hard part. Not because like it's physically going to be very difficult, it's just, or skill-wise going to be very difficult, it's just mostly because it's in a tight location, you know what I mean? It's hot up there, but I'll bring you along for the ride so you can consider all of your options before you're like, yeah, I'm going to do it myself. Saves money, but it's hot up there, so you have to be confident enough to work in a tight, hot space. And just kind of shove everything in the box. Just have a little bit more to go. Be careful working with these boxes. They're always super sharp with this sheet metal. Perfect. So our fan is physically wired, and because we've changed our plan, we're no longer exiting and having this exhaust blow that way. We've changed our plan and we're going towards camera and then out back like that. So let's see if we can shove her up into the ceiling and then go from there. As it turns out, this fan comes with these little drywall clips, which sound like they're supposed to rest on top of here and kind of sandwich between. So I might not even have to go up there to physically like screw it in place. I still might, because I still have to go up there and run the vent. But man, it's a tight spot up there, so this might save us a substantial amount of time. Let's try it. Here's a little update. So I've gone ahead and I've patched the drywall. You can see these little clips. Man, they make my life so much easier. You just have to push them through, and they just sandwich between the drywall like that. And yeah, if you're gonna go for a fan, I highly recommend one that has that. The drywall patch over here is cleaning up. Just gone ahead and vacuumed everything up. I'm gonna do a second one over, but the next step for this project is we actually have to go in the attic and we have to run the duct work. That is honestly the most dreaded part, but it shouldn't be too terrible as far as skill level wise. So let's go do that part. All right, this next part of the process is probably the hottest part. Make sure you have a respirator. I also have my impact with a socket attachment for these hose clamps. And I also have this semi-rigid. I had to get a little bit extra. And we're just gonna run that from our bathroom vent out the side of the house. So if the audio isn't great, it's because I'm wearing this guy. But sorry guys, I value my lungs. All we have to do, I have to take this hose clamp, put it around the end of my pipe, and way over there is where I'm going to connect. So I'm going to go from here over to the wall from there using this stuff. I don't think I'm going to be able to record it very much because it's kind of hard to get to, as you see. But there's the new wire we pulled. It goes from there. All we have to do is pull it out to there. We're getting on to the last couple steps here. All I have to do is bring out this vent, which is going to go on the outside of the building, and install it. And in the meantime, what I've done is I've gone ahead and you can see there's spray foam and any cracks and gaps inside this because we want to air seal this as best as possible to try to mitigate moisture sucking through the drywall and going into the insulation up top. You can see I've already drilled a hole through the wall using a hole saw. So now just have to mount this guy. This is just vinyl siding, so I can simply cut through it. As you can see, I'm just cutting off the nozzle because it got gummed up. I've marked the top portion of the vinyl and I'm just going to go through, spray foam a little bit underneath to help seal. It's going to help seal out water. You could say put that cover on upside down, but it just pops off. And this just helps prevent, you know, birds and stuff from going inside. So that's it. Rain won't go underneath it, so we're good. All right, we're at a point in the project now where we can just put on the faceplate, and I just have to put on the fan cover, and then we can power it on. So I'll catch up to you when those are put on. Okay, we have the cover on. It just simply slips in. It's got little springs, and we have the faceplate on. You can see it needs some touch-up work with some paint and sanding, but same thing with over here. Just needs to sand and paint, but that's really simple. Let's go turn the power on. All right, moment of truth. Light. Light still works. Fan. There we go. She works. Nice. Thank you everyone for watching. I appreciate you sticking around. I know this project took longer than intended, but I'm happy with the result. I just gotta do a little bit of touch-up paint. So make sure you leave a like, a comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next project. Bye.